Hello and thanks for joining us at the Asprey. We're Me and My Golf and Andy. It's Monday, that means it's time for the Impact Show. What are we talking about?
Right, today we're bringing you 5 tips to help you break 100. Don't go anywhere, let's take charge of your game.
So welcome to today's Impact Show. Now Andy, it's the beginning of July. Now July, meandmygolf.com is all about beginner golfers. So if you're new to the game or you've got some friends who want to get into the game, July is the month for you. So we've got lots of things going on, lots of content, also a video series on beginner short game, which is well worth a watch.
Yes, and we've got the Open this month also, so that generally gets a lot of people into the game. Hopefully we get a good summer.
Well,
fingers crossed.
This is it, when the weather gets nicer, people want to get into the game. So hopefully, fingers crossed, the weather is good for us. Right, okay, so look, we wanted to start this off by talking about 5 things that we see that can help people improve their golf scores, especially if you're looking to break 100. So many people have that as their goals, don't they, Andy? They want to break 100. How can I do it? So we're thinking, well, if we can get 5 tips to help you with this, you know, it's amazing if you can just take these tips on board. I'm not going to say we can guarantee that you break 100, but you're going to get a lot closer because there's a lot of simple mistakes that are being made on the golf course which are really hindering your scores.
Definitely. It's amazing when you get past that 100 mark as well, it then becomes quite easy. It's sort of just, once they get past that milestone, really, I think it's just so much easier to do, you know, repeat again. So with the 5 tips we're going to give you today, it's definitely going to help you get towards that and hopefully get you breaking that so it's a consistent thing.
Yeah, I think, like you say, once you go past that barrier, it becomes a lot easier to keep breaking it over and over again then. So Andy, first tip, you've got the driver in hand.
Yes.
What are you going to talk about?
Okay, well look, we see this so often that when you're starting the game, and actually when you're playing the game for a long time, you're always going to hit bad shots, but you're probably going to hit a few more when you start in the game. So you're going to find that the driver isn't going to be the most consistent club in the bag. Now what we see golfers do all the time, Pierce, is they know that they should aim down the fairway, down the middle of the fairway, but the problem is, if they've got a consistent ball flight, let's say the ball flight tends to go left to right and their bad shot misses to the right for the right-handed golfer, the slice, which is the most common one, then it may not always be the key thing to do is aim down the middle of the fairway. So we're going to say aim your ball flight, not your body, because ultimately when we're on the golf course, we want to get the golf ball in play. So if your ball tends to miss to the right, if you aim straight and keep missing the ball to the right, well look, let's aim left. Let's get your body aiming left so your ball flight then finds the fairway, irrespective of where you're aiming.
Yeah.
The driving range is the place to actually improve that and work on correcting it, but when we're out here, the job is to get the golf ball on the fairway. So I'm actually going to give you a 2-for-1 with this tip, Pierce. Now, if I was to actually just set up, for instance, in the middle of the tee here, or even just to the left of the tee here, now for somebody who hits that left to right shape, it almost brings this little house into play, which is the last thing I obviously want to do. So if you do have this ball flight that curves to the right, then moving over to the right-hand side of the tee just opens up that left side of the fairway. So positioning yourself on the tee also makes a huge difference, because now I've sort of opened up the left side of the fairway, I can aim down the left, start it that way, and then curve it back to somewhere hopefully near the middle of the fairway.
You've got a much better view of the fairway from there.
Exactly,
as you say, it's a wider shot, isn't it?
Exactly. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I can see 2 trees sort of on the left-hand side of the rough, which seems strange. I'm going to aim at the rough, but on this hole it's perfect, because if it goes straight, I'm still okay. But I'm going to aim at those trees and hopefully allow for a little bit of left to right and hit it somewhere towards that sprinkler. That's my sort of plan, Pierce, on this one. So get myself positioned there down the left-hand side, a little bit of left to right on this, hopefully find the fairway. And as you can see there, it started left, maybe a little left of where I wanted it to, but you can see there, that's absolutely split the fairway, and I'd be happy with that.
Well, you just hit the fairway with a 20-yard slice. Now, obviously, as you say, you can go to the practice area and get rid of that, but on the golf course, you've got to allow for that 20-yard slice, and as you said, middle of the fairway.
Exactly. So make sure you give that a go, guys. Make sure you aim where your ball flight tends to like to go, and you're going to find more fairways. Hopefully, they'll lower those scores. So tip number 2 is stick your finish, Pierce. Talk us through this one.
Do you know what, Andy? So many people, when they start the game, they've played other sports, and to get the ball in the air, they've had to be on the back foot or lift it. You know, golf is very different. The golf club, the hitting area is different to the shaft in that it is lofted up. So the loft on the golf club is going to get the golf ball in the air. So when people are trying to lift the ball in the air, they'll hit off their back foot. Now we know, you know, the more people hit from their back foot, the more the low point of their swing happens before the golf ball. So they could hit the ground well before the golf ball and duff it a few yards. They could miss the ground and top it, or even if they do get it in the air, it just goes too high.
Yeah.
So by sticking the finish, So we're literally saying by sticking the finish, you're telling yourself to shift pressure and weight to that lead side, to not hit off the back foot, to literally just shift the weight and pressure to that lead side to get a much better strike on the golf ball.
Definitely, and that gets that bottom of the golf swing after the golf ball.
Yes.
And really that club now is hitting down on the golf ball with an iron, which is exactly what we want. That's the key, really.
Hopefully, yeah.
That's
it gives you more chance of doing that. There's maybe a few other things involved, but yeah, it gives you more chance of doing that. And if you just went with that theory of every time you play golf on the golf course and you were to stick your finish, not only would it help the ball striking, it'd probably give you more control as well.
Definitely, yeah. And this is mainly with the irons, guys. We're talking about this really because it really does help that ball striking, which is key for consistency.
Okay, let's stick the finish.
And you can see Piers perfectly imbalanced there, nicely on his left side.
Could even do one of these, Andy, at the end there.
Bit of a tap there, bit of a tap with the foot.
Tells me that pressure's into that foot there.
Brilliant. Okay, let's get to tip number 3.
Andy, we're now getting closer to the green. We're hitting fairways more, we're hitting better irons. We've got a simple chip here. So many shots are wasted in this situation for people trying to break 100, aren't they? So what are we seeing? What sort of things are the problem we
Well,
have?
look, I think when we get close to the green, people tend to want to go automatically to their pitching wedge or the sand wedge to do these chip shots. But what happens is they're so focused on the actual flag. So they play a shot there. Let's say I've got a sand wedge here in my hand. So I'm going to actually see what I see with golfers. So I'm going for number 3 here straight in front of me, a bit of green to work with. We see golfers look at the flag, okay, and play the shot to that flag. Now, if you look at that, it's landed near the flag, but it's gone too far past.
Yep.
Okay, so my target then was really in the wrong spot. But also, this brings a lot of risk into play. Using a high lofted club requires a fair bit of speed, but also it's quite hard to do consistently.
High skill level as well, definitely.
It's definitely a high skill level. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to swap clubs here. I've got a 7-iron. Now the first thing when I do when I approach this shot is think about where I want to land the ball. And the closer you can land the ball to yourself on the green as well, hopefully, then the easier it's going to be, Piers, as well. So my landing spot here is probably about 2 to 3 yards on the green. So all I need to do now is focus on that spot, not the flag. So I've got my 7-iron. All I'm going to do now, look at the difference in the swing that I'm going to produce. Much shorter, so much more consistent. And the ball is going to spend the time on the ground. Yes, my target the flag, but my landing zone is on the green. And you're going to see that the balls are going to get rolling very quickly, and it's so much more consistent to do.
And you know what, you're absolutely right about this. And what I like about this is when you pick a zone and focus on that, that is exactly what you should be doing. Think of the mixed messages that you're giving yourself if your brain knows that you should be landing it short, but then your eyes are looking at the flag. So you get confused when doing this, and I think it's a real big problem now. So 7-iron, landing it just on the green, allowing it to run out. This is definitely more consistent. Very nice.
So you can see there, the ball landed very sharply on the green, and I'm about 3-4 feet now, maybe maximum. I'm sure you'd give me that one, Piers.
I may. But the good thing again with that kind of shot is, even if you get that shot wrong, where you catch it a little bit in the middle of the ball and you thin it a little bit, that low running shot, well, guess what? The good shot is a low running shot as well. So actually, it's the same sort of shot. Well done.
Thank you. The putting green is where you're going to have most of your shots, so it makes sense we do a tip on here. So tip number 4 is don't accelerate. Piers, this is really going to save a lot of shots for the golfers, especially if they want to break 100. And don't accelerate. Talk about don't accelerate. It sounds a bit strange.
So the scenario we're in is we've got about a 40-foot putt. Now, if you're trying to break 100, how good are you at getting the golf ball in the hole from 40 feet? We would see generally people aren't very good at it. Even, people when they're a 10 handicapper struggle with this. 2 putting from this range is really, really important. And I think one of the things that we've been sort of told over the years is that putter head must accelerate when you're hitting the golf ball. Now, you know what, there's some different takes on this, but let's just show you how thinking about accelerating generally looks to not just beginner golfers. So if you've been playing the game for 30 years, this is a good tip for you. So we generally see that the backswing length is the same length no matter what length the putt, and then they judge the distance based on the acceleration. So we see something like that. So I'm accelerating hard. Now look, sometimes it can go in. That nearly went in, but you can see I wasn't perhaps able to control the distance that well. So what we're looking to do really is let the length of the backswing dictate how far the golf ball goes. So practice swing is the first thing. So standing to the side of the golf ball and keeping what feels like a constant pace to the putter. That's the feeling, a constant pace to the putter. You've seen one of those things that sort of goes from side to side on momentum, or a pendulum. You know, it is really about trying to generate that sort of feel when you're on these long putts. So I'm going to work really hard at the putter head, going back and through a very similar pace when I'm hitting this putt.
So it's almost like the ball gets in the way of the putter head as opposed to you actually hitting that putter head.
Yes.
And this is something, like we said, we see the majority of golfers, especially in their early days playing golf, they are trying to hit the golf ball instead of actually using the momentum and the actual weight of the putter swing through. And that was a perfect one because you judge the distance perfectly. And it's not always about getting them in pace. Like you say, if you can 2-putt from here, you're going to be over the moon.
Well, if you actually worked out how many 3-putts you actually had, then I think you'd be very shocked when you're doing it. So again, let the pace of let the length of the backstroke dictate the pace, and a carbon copy. So straight away we have consistency now in a very inconsistent part of the game for golfers.
And even I would give you those 2 putts.
This is your putter, actually. I might have to steal this.
So our fifth and final tip is don't add up. Right, Piers, talk us through this one.
Do you know what? We get clients who come to us who are trying to break 100, and we'll say, how you get on? I say, well, I played the other day and I shot 101. He said, but I was at 48 on the front 9. I really thought I was going to break it, but you know, you can see where we're going with this. If you start adding your score up and seeing that you're doing well, that you might break 100, suddenly you're having more pressure on the shot. It's like me saying to Andy, if you knock this putt in, you win. Yeah. Suddenly you're building that pressure on yourself as you are playing, and you know, even getting onto the last hole and knowing that you just need a par on the last, or a 5, or even a 6 on the last to break 100, and suddenly you shoot an 8. Yeah,
and how often do you hear, you may have heard some of the top tour pros say that all I did was just wanted to stay in the present and you know, put one shot, take one shot at a time. So, you know, keeping yourself in the present, focusing on each shot and each hole at a time is the key thing, really, to help you just keep going and not worry and stress about what's going ahead. At the end of the round, add up the score, and you know what, you'll probably find by not obsessing about that score, at the end of the round you're going to shoot some lower scores because you're not really focusing too much ahead of yourself.
Potentially that is the most important tip out of all of these 5 that we've done today. This is the most important tip, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed that. Now, don't forget to comment below so we can pick some questions for next week's video, and also make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're really serious about your golf this year.
Yes, definitely. And don't forget to check out meandmygolf.com, where the month of July, it's all about beginners, remember. Make sure you get your 30-day free trial. Click the link in the corner and we'll see you there.